G'day guys, today I'm answering the number one question I have been asked since I went to Cape York. Should you take your boat with your aluminium trailer to Cape York? Or what damage has your boat received at Cape York? This video is just to cover everything about the boat and trailer, taking it up the PDR, what you should and shouldn't do, and yeah, just an overall guide of this whole situation of taking your boat to Cape York. Before I left for Cape York, I was searching for this exact video and I didn't find one, so I did my own research and talked to a lot of trailer places and all that sort of stuff. And this is what I've come up with, and this is what I did, and it seemed to work. You will cop damage, there's no way around it, stuff will break, but here's a couple of measures you can do to limit those damages. First thing is tires. So my tires were pretty bad before I left, and I got new tires before I left, because you want to let your tires down on the PDR because it shakes everything, and if you run your tire pressures a bit lower, it reduces, you know, all the rattling and everything like that. Same as letting your tires down in your car, just makes it ride way better. I had my trailer tires sitting between 20 and 25 psi pretty much the whole time I was in Cape York, and that worked for me. I did go a size bigger on the tires, so my tires are 165 R13s and I went 175 R13s. It lifts the tall, like the profile, because the R13 doesn't have a height profile, it's just, you know, R13, so it lifted the height profile by like 10-20 mil of radius of the whole tire. So I've gotten like 10-20 mil more, or half of that, because that's the whole circumference. So I've got about 10 mil of lift in the tires, which isn't much, but I wanted everything I could get. So the first thing I would say is have good tires and try and get as higher profile tire as possible to fit on your trailer without it rubbing on the guards and, you know, causing you other sorts of dramas like that. The second thing, and I think maybe the biggest thing, is your suspension setup in your trailer. Now, I was toying with the idea of going eye-to-eye springs, because my trailer and most of these aluminium boat trailers, whether it's Quintrex or another brand, usually a slipper spring. And everyone I spoke to, they said it doesn't matter what spring you have, they're all going to fail if they're going to fail. So if you're going to have a failure, it's going to snap the spring or snap where the spring mounts to the trailer, and whether you have eye-to-eye or slipper, it doesn't matter. The biggest thing, because I was also thinking about upgrading my springs. I think these springs are rated to 600 a side, so it's 1200 all up kilos. I was going to go to 1500s, and everyone told me not to do that. Just keep the ones in spec for your trailer, because it'll make it too stiff and rattle everything else. You want the weight in the trailer, and you want the springs to actually work and move up and down with some weight on top of it. They also told me to load the boat up. Obviously not overloading the boat, so you're exceeding the weight limit, but you want as much weight over the springs as possible so that the boat stays still and the suspension is working. Where if you've got no weight in the trailer will be bouncing and not the suspension working. So that brings me to my next point, is spares. So what's going to break is a spring's going to snap, or the mounting, you know, the little eyelets that mount to the trailer, they're going to snap off. You can brace the eyelets going to the trailer, which I did not do because I was living on the road and I didn't have time. But I would, if I was going to go back, I would probably brace them, because a lot of stuff cracks, like a lot of welds crack. And I just bought spare springs, spare bearings, spare U-bolts, so where the spring bolts to the axle. So if I did break a spring, I just had a spare, rather than buying all new stuff and breaking it, and then it might break anyway. But yeah, so carry spares. So wheel bearings, springs, and U-bolts are what I carried. And then the boat spares, I just had fuel filters and stuff, because, you know, I got a Yamaha, not much goes wrong with the Yamaha, or so's the dealer tell me, and nothing went wrong with the engine on the boat at all. Alright, front of the trailer time. D-shackles, carry spare D-shackles. They rattle off and you lose them, and you just hear the ting-ting-ting-ting-ting behind the car of you just dragging your chains on the ground. So do your D-shackles up tight and get spare D-shackles, because they will fall off and you will lose them, and it could be dramas if you lose your trailer off the back of your boat. Second of all, I lost my jockey wheel. It just exploded just from the rattling. All the bolts come loose, the wheel fell off. The inside of the jockey wheel came out of the top. This is the replacement that I put on there while I was on the PDR, or I think we went all the way to the tip and then back down to Weeper, and I replaced that at Weeper. So I probably wouldn't say carry a spare, but if you have room, carry a spare, but my jockey wheel pretty much exploded and I had to get a new one. Second bit of damage I had was this guy right here. You can see this bottom section on my trailer is new because it cracked all the way around the bottom there. I ended up just ratchet strapping from here to the front of the trailer to stop it, you know, the boat falling off the back, but that weld cracked. So when I got back, I just went to the Quintrex dealer, bought the whole bottom half brand new, and it was like $100. We did weld up the old one after I bought the new one, so if it happens again, I've got a spare one. But welds do crack, and aluminium trailers like these, keep an eye on the bolts. So if you tighten the bolts and maybe use a paint pen and mark where the nuts are, every time you stop, check your wheel bearings, check your bolts that nothing's come loose, because everything rattles like a lot. I think that covers a lot of the stuff already. So just to go over it again: tires, bearings, springs, U-bolts, and checking the nuts and bolts. Welds will crack, so be prepared for that. Carry ratchet straps and cable ties, they're your friend. But I'm just going to go over some of the damages that I've had. So I did lose a couple of D-shackles, my jockey wheel. So the whole trailer was sprayed with rocks. So you can see the whole, much of the aluminium is all pitted and dinted, and the boat is stone chips everywhere. So all through the paint, everything is stone chipped. So even the guards are stone chipped, like the plastic guards. I've heard you will lose a plastic guard. I didn't, but I've heard it's very common that you lose like the plastic guards on there. But if you're worried about your boat scratching it, dinting it, you'll get peppered with rocks the whole time you're there. So wrapping your boat, or a boat cover that comes all the way down and covers it, all the stone chip guards, I highly recommend, because my boat literally looks like it's been sandblasted. The whole paint all down the side and everything is just chipping off. There's the guards. Clearance lights are gone. Pretty much non-existent. They went within the first kilometre on the dirt road, just the stones flicking off the car, smashing the clearance lights on the trailer. So that's inevitable. If you've got clearance lights down there, unless you cover them up or something, you're going to smash them, because it's just rocks and stuff flying everywhere. One other thing I did with the engine, the outboard, I braced the motor. I used one of these legs and put a ratchet strap over that just to stop it from bouncing. I had the rubber block in the outboard, and I had people following me and they're like, mate, your outboard's bouncing so much. So I got rid of that and I just went to this, so it's a bit more stiff, and yeah, it isn't going to wear out like all the joints and everything in the hinge there. Also, the tie downs for the back of the boat here, I snapped 3 of them. So I've got one on each side, so I've got 2. I snapped both of them and I replaced both of them, and I snapped a 3rd one. So spare straps, because they break. It's a lot of vibrations. But it went there, it came home, it is fine. Everything inside the boat is fine. I've had no damage inside the boat, just the red dirt. So I've got a custom cover, but there is like gaps you can get your hands up, and if there's a gap, it will get red dirt in there. So I did have red dirt all through the boat. I've washed the boat like 3 times before I even took it out again, because of the red dirt was all through the carpet everywhere. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything I can think of. I was looking for a video like this before I left and I couldn't find any. So yeah, leave your trailer how it is. Don't spend stupid money modifying it. The best way you could actually probably do it is get an off-road trailer, but that's obviously expensive, and I know a lot of people aren't going to want to buy a whole new trailer. So I think lots of spares, lots of straps, all that sort of stuff. Just be prepared with a lot of spare parts and you should be fine. You are going to break stuff is going to rattle off, and your car or your boat is going to get plastered with rocks. So they're the main things to look out for.